The text, America's God, from Jonathan Edwards to Abraham Lincoln, describes the evolution of Christianity in American history and its effect on the framework of the federal government. Chapter 5 specifically describes some instances where Christianity and republicanism meshed together to influence the government we have today. Jedediah Morse, a famed geographer and minister, spoke to his congregation on April 25, 1779, and preached the following: "Our dangers are of two kinds, those of which affect our religion and those of which affect our government. They are, however, so closely allied that they cannot be separated. The foundations which support Christianity are also necessary to support a free and equal government like our own. Whenever the pillars of Christianity shall be overthrown, our present republican forms of government and all the blessings which flow from them must fall with them." Morse was clear that there was no distinction between Christianity and a republican form of government. Both institutions were so intertwined, and a threat to one was a threat to both. Morse was not alone in his ideas. He was also joined by such individuals such as Reverend Timothy Dwight, president of Yale University from 1795 to 1818. Dwight would serve as chaplain during the Revolutionary War and preach sermons with patriotic fervor. However, prior to the 1740s, most traditional Christians actually opposed republicanism. Some revivalists, like George Whitefield and Jonathan Edwards, began preaching the language of liberty into their sermons. These preachers would become large contributors to the American Christian establishment. The war with France in the 1750s and the conflict with Britain in the decade to follow saw the integration of Republican political philosophy and Christian thought. The word virtue became a term used by Christians and the newly minted Americans to mean the same thing in both religious and political worlds. The 13 colonies became a region where Protestantism and republicanism came together like nowhere else in the world. The American circumstance of war became the ideal situation for these two beliefs to merge as one in the new government establishment. The war with France gave Christian Americans a sense that the attack on their lands in North America was also a direct threat to their religion in the region. Religious liberty became civil liberty very quickly, and rightfully so, as the French attempted to conquer the region and continued to drive the colonists out. The French conflict against the tyrannous papal powers quickly transitioned into conflict against the British throne upon the passing of the Stamp Act. The conflict with the British sharpened American Christian republicanism. The trauma left behind from the French conflict enhanced the villainous parliament and brought Americans from different denominations together to oppose the powers that be. Religious reform also attributed to the fusing of Christianity and republicanism. As the young nation progressed, religious reformers such as Jacob Green used Republican language to attack slavery. His discourse included the following: "Slaveholders are friends to slavery, ergo, the enemies to liberty. Ergo, are enemies to our present struggle for liberty, ergo, are enemies to these United States." This fusing of Republican and religious language was a representation of many of the sentiments of the time. Thomas Paine would also use Christian language to support republicanism in America. He cited Hebrew scriptures in his work Common Sense, one of the most influential pieces of literature in American history. Another example of the fusing of republicanism and Christianity was the Call to Prayer by Samuel Adams and the Continental Congress. By associating American victories with prayers and gratitude towards the Lord, Americans ensured that their cause would be the righteous one. Alexis de Tocqueville summarized the American experiment as two perfectly distinct elements that elsewhere have often made war with each other, but which, in America, they have succeeded in incorporating somehow into another and combining marvelously. I mean to speak of the spirit of religion and the spirit of freedom. America would grow to build on its newly found Christian roots, all while maintaining a separation of church and state, as penned by Thomas Jefferson.